All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say call halayim Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakah Quitash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth and who rule well in this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel that is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Peace and mercy unto you. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You Seminole Indians, West Indians, Haitians, and Brazilians. You are the true Hebrew Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You are the true chosen people of the book. All right. So, what I want to get into today is seed oils or vegetable oils. All right. And what kind of inspired me to do this video was because I was watching a video that Apostle Gabar, all right, was doing, and he was going into the seed oils, man, and how toxic they are. All right, the vegetable oils and how toxic they are, how they're a great danger to your health. And that's true, man. That's true. This is something you should know, man. All right, because we're living in 2025. Here we are in 2025, all right, with information at our fingertips, all right, and this is something you should know, man. All right, because being healthy, getting into the herbs and the spices, the medicines of this earth, that's part of this truth as well, man. That's part of the knowledge and wisdom that Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai gave us, man. Knowing about the herbs and the medicines and all that, man. Like the scriptures say when you read the book of Sirach, the 30th chapter, all right, the 15th verse, I got it right here off screen, I'll just read it. It says, Sirach 30 and 15, it says, health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. All right, so this is the scriptures, man. The scriptures are saying this, man. So this is part of the knowledge and wisdom, all right? Having good health, all right? A good estate of body, all right? That's above all gold, all right? I'll read it again, all right? Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, chapter 30, verse 15. Health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. All right, so being healthy and having a strong body, that's better than riches, better than wealth, man. All right, worldly riches, man. The true riches is the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures, man. All right, and being healthy, man. Work out. The scriptures say, bodily exercise profiteth little, but a righteous man profiteth all things, man. So you get into the workouts, you get into the exercise, you get into the herbs, the spices, the medicines that all come from this earth, man. But here you are, 2025, people, this earth is so retarded, man. Slow of mind, that you got people willingly, lining up to eat fried chicken every day, dipped in canola oil, soaked in canola oil, man. Eating all types of nonsense, Twinkies and cupcakes, in a excessive manner. That's why they fat, have all types of health problems. So we gonna get in today is these vegetable oils, these seed oils, man. All right, because like Apostle Gabar was teaching, all right, they're very dangerous to the body, man. All right, they cause all types of diseases and health problems. All right, so what I want to get into today, I found a book. I found a few books actually. All right, I found a book called Sweet Poison. Going into the sugar and all that. I found another book called Dark Calories, and I found another book called Toxic Oil. All right. So this book is called Toxic Oil. All right, is written by David Gillespie. All right, and I found another book called Dark Calories, all right, written by Catherine Shanahan, MD, all right, which goes into the vegetable oils, all right. It's called Dark Calories: How Vegetable Oils Destroy Our Health and how we can get it back. All right, so let's go into this book. Let's go into the first chapter. All right, the introduction is pretty good too. I was reading a little bit of it, but I want to get into the chapter 1. All right. She created a list here. All right, let me zoom in real quick. All right, she created like a chart, a list, of saturated fats. Then she got monounsaturated oils. Then you got the polyunsaturated, all right, or also known as PUFA, all right, which are all seed oils. And then she bracketized it right here. She called it herself the hateful 8 seed oils to avoid. All right, you got corn oil, canola oil, cottonseed oil, soy oil, all right, sunflower oil, safflower oil, grapeseed oil, rice bran oil, and vegetable oil. All right, which all these fall under vegetable oil. All right, when you read ingredients on the back of packages and all of that. All right, so let me zoom out a little bit. All right, so you got chapter 1 right here. It says the poison in your pantry. All right, in this chapter you will learn. It says right here. It says vegetable oils originate as byproducts of other industries, including soap making and confinement animal feeding operations. So all these vegetable oils come from freaking soaps and other industries, man. All right, it says vegetable oils require a staggering amount of processing to render them safe for consumption. You see? All right. It says vegetable oil is more toxic than any other than any. It says then. Let me read that again. It says vegetable oil is more toxic than other oils and animal fats because of its chemistry. All right, eating a typical 5-ounce serving of most restaurant fries, which are nearly always cooked in vegetable oils, equates to the toxicity of smoking 20 to 25 cigarettes. All right, so you got to get away from these garbage foods, man. All right, you got to get into these herbs, these fruits, these veggies, meats. All right, get into the beef, the steak, the chicken, the turkey, these meats, man. All right, and these fruits and veggies. That's really all you need to eat, man. Fruits, veggies, and meats. That's all you need. All right, it says let's read it. It says there is a noxious substance in your pantry and likely your fridge and freezer too. All right, it has an innocuous and even healthy sounding name. It is ubiquitous in prepared foods and a staple ingredient in home cooked meals. Chances are that you and your family are eating it every day. I am referring, of course, to vegetable oil. All right, and vegetable oil is in many things, man. All right, it says a substance that all of us eat, but too few of us know much about. That's partly because though most of us grew up with vegetable oil in the kitchen, it is a relatively new food. All right, let's keep reading. It says, in spite of its healthy sounding name, vegetable oil doesn't truly come from vegetables like broccoli or carrots. Yeah, all right, because you can't get oils from vegetables, man. All right, it says it is sometimes more accurately called seed oil because it actually comes from seeds. All right, both terms are used in common parlance. All right, and I use both interchangeably as a blanket term referring to corn oil, canola oil, cottonseed oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, grapeseed oil, and rice bran oil. All right, members of a group I call the Hateful Eight. All right, vegetable oil is an industrial product that didn't exist until a little more than 150 years ago. Before industrial agriculture changed our landscape, many human populations relied on animal fats such as butter, tallow, all right, and lard, all right, which, being the Israelite, you're not supposed to be eating lard, pork, all right, but tallow is good, man. All right, tallow is fire. All right, so it says humanity has been eating animal fats since the Stone Age. And there isn't no Stone Age, man. There was never a Stone Age. All right. It says humanity has been eating animal fats since the Stone Age. All right, knowing this truth, knowledge, and wisdom, we know that there's no Stone Age. All right, but anyway, it says, and dairy fat for nearly 10,000 years. All right, we've also eaten oils, all right, extracted from fatty fruits like olives and coconuts for many thousands of years. But vegetable oils are radically different. To start with, these new fats look different from the old fats. After processing, all right, they are colorless and they are dyed yellow to hide this. All right, they taste different. They're almost flavorless. All right, and making them requires technologically advanced equipment rather than a simple stone press or butter kern or butcher's knife. All right, yet despite their lack of flavor and the difficulty of processing them, all right, they are now the largest single source of dietary fats, accounting for more calories in our diets than sugar or flour. Woo. All right, to understand how they became so prevalent, let's take a look at history of vegetable oil, which began not so very long ago. All right, it says neither the term vegetable oil nor seed oil works perfectly to indicate the problematic oils. This is why I created the term the Hateful Eight, which does. All right, each member of the Hateful Eight is hateful because of its chemistry. All right, chemistry affects how easily the oil is extracted, what happens during extraction and refining, storage, usage, and cooking, the effects of reheating. All right, how it changes in our digestive system, and and how it affects our metabolism at low levels versus today's historically high levels of consumption, among other variables. Because not everyone factors all this in. All right, you're bound to run into other people's list of which oils are good and which to avoid. Just memorize these 8 oils and you'll be good to go. All right, then it gives you the history of the vegetable oil. I'll read it. I'm going to read it. All right, matter of fact, let's read this. All right, it says how vegetable oil is made, right? Let's read that. It says, to keep up with the huge demand, vegetable oil refining takes place inside outstandingly large factories. From the outside, these factories are indistinguishable, all right, from oil and gas refineries, all right, like those you see in the opening sequence of The Sopranos, as Tony cruises a section of the Jersey Turnpike above the infamously smelly industrial section of the city of Elizabeth. All right, the process begins as the oil seeds are pumped out of the delivery truck and into the factory via metal ductwork. All right, they enter a series of large metal cooking, all right, and cleaning chambers that heat the seeds between 400 to 600 degrees Fahrenheit several times in preparation for oil extraction. All right, next they go into the extraction press itself, where the seeds are crushed through a large metal screw, all right, called an expeller, that squeezes much of the oil from the meal. This first batch of oil emerges as a foamy grayish yellow liquid with a waxy texture. The crushed meal containing the solids and residual oil, all right, emerges as dark brown flakes, referred to as the cake. For now, the cake and the oil will go their separate ways. The oil goes straight to the crude oil holding tank, all right, while the cake requires additional treatments to release the valuable oil it still contains. All right, to release its oil, the cake travels into a solvent treatment chamber to be washed with hexane, all right, a component of gasoline. Man, all right, with hexane. All right, it says the solvent removes all but 1% of the residual oil from the cake. All right. The cake will be shipped off to a different building for additional treatments required to render it safer for its ultimate use as an ingredient in animal feed. All right, let's read that again. This is the cake will be shipped off to a different building for additional treatment required to render it safer for its ultimate use as an ingredient in animal feed. That's crazy. All right, it says the hexane treated oil, which like we read here, a component of gasoline. All right, the hexane treated oil, now dark brown, all right, will pass through multiple other chambers to remove most of the hexane and various solids. All right, one important stage collects the waxes as they drain slowly into a grate in the floor. All right, these will be processed into vegetable shortening. All right, next, the hexane treated portion is reunited with the expeller pressed portion in a crude oil tank. All right, this crude oil is still not safe to eat. All right, when I asked a process manager inside the industry why not, he answered candidly. All right, crude vegetable oil contains hydratable and non-hydratable gums. All right, free fatty acids, all right, partly oxidized coloring pigments like carotenoids, moisture toxic oxidative components like aldehydes and peroxides, metallic elements, waxes, and other impurities. That's a lot to clean up. All right, they gotta clean up all that, man. That's what's inside the oil. All right, it says refining the crude oil into a final quote unquote edible oil is complicated. All right, the American Oil Chemists Society publishes a series of lengthy manuals to educate engineers and chemists on best practices for oilseed production. The flow charts alone take up quite a few pages. All right, each flow chart maps out what's involved in each of the major processing steps: degumming, dewaxing, deodorizing. The list goes on. All right, it says we'll discuss the deodorizing step again later in this chapter, but for the sake of chocolate lovers, I want to take a moment to try to help you visualize the degumming step in particular. The gum is a dark brown material that emerges from a 1-inch diameter steel pipe located about 2 feet above the cement floor. It plops into a receptacle bowl in gloopy segments, all right, making it look for all the world like a machine having a loose bowel movement. All right, that's where vegetable lecithin, all right, an ingredient used in many brands of chocolate candy as well as vegan mayonnaise, all right, gets pulled out before undergoing its own set of extensive cleanup operations. Right? Fortunately, the amount used in chocolate is tiny, so even though it faces the same safety challenges as seed oil, we'll see why shortly. It's not much of a dose. Entire factories may specialize in just one of these major steps. Most flowcharts illustrate between 20 and 40 different reaction chambers. Wow. All right, each connected by what must amount to miles of tubes. All right, I can't imagine that any ingredient requires more intensive process than vegetable oil. So the vegetable oil got to go through all this, bro. Just all this to be quote unquote edible, edible, all right. But I want to let me read something here. Let me go up again. What was I reading before? Where was I at? I had read something before. I want to go back to it. Yeah, it says vegetable oil is an industrial product that didn't exist until a little more than 150 years ago. All right. Before industrial agriculture changed our landscape, all right, many human populations relied on animal fats, uh, such as butter, tallow, which that's what should be cooking with butter and tallow, man, real butter and tallow, all right, and land and lard, all right, which you don't we don't deal with pork, all right, which is that's an abomination, all right. It says humanity has been eating animal fat since the Stone Age, which knowing this truth, wisdom, and knowledge, there wasn't no Stone Age, man. All right, that's nonsense. All right, humanity has been eating animal fat since the Stone Age. There isn't no Ice Age, stuff like that. All right, humanity has been eating animal fats since the Stone Age and dairy fat for nearly 10,000 years of history. But there's only about 6,000, 7,000 years of history. All right, we've only eaten oils extracted from fatty fruits like olives and coconuts for many thousands of years, all right, but vegetable oils are radically different, all right, just to read that again, all right. um it says right here why vegetable oils are toxic. It says a brief chemistry lesson. It says, so why does it take so much processing to make vegetable oils quote unquote safe or safe enough to eat? It says it is because of their chemistry, which determines their stability, all right, and their stability, well, excuse me, it says to determine their stability, all right, and their stability determines how easily they form byproducts during refining, and then during the cooking process, and finally in our bodies, all right. Fatty acids are the building blocks of all dietary fats, including vegetable oils, fruit oils, dairy, and animal fats, and our body fat. uh the three major types of fatty acids are saturated, monounsaturated, and polyunsaturated, often referred to as PUFA. Right? Saturated fats are the most chemically stable. Polyunsaturated fats are the least stable because they are prone to reacting with oxygen, a process called oxidation. Monounsaturated fats resist oxygen reaction and are far more stable than PUFAs. All right, a molecule called glycerol links three fatty acids together to form a triglyceride. Ooh, all right. It says the blend of fatty acids determines whether the triglyceride fat is liquid or solid. All right. For example, vegetable oils are very high in polyunsaturated fatty acids. All right, which makes them stay liquid even in the fridge. All right. Animal fats are low in polyunsaturates. All right, as are olive and coconut oil, which make them more solid at cooler temps. Yeah, that's right. Because I used to have um, coconut oil in a jar and it stays solid. All right. It says olive oil should start to solidify in the fridge. All right. So it just keeps going, and I got this other book right here, like I said before, Toxic Oil. Just to go through these books, very briefly, just to give you some information, man. All right, Toxic Oil. It says why vegetable oil will kill you and how to save your health. All right. This book was written by David Gillespie. All right, and it says right here, publication date 2013. All right, let's zoom in real quick. All right, going into this book, it says, what is a vegetable oil? It says, we've been told that the secret to curing heart disease is to consume unsaturated vegetable oils rather than saturated animal fats. All right, so now all the fats in our processed foods are labeled vegetable oil, and the labels are rarely more specific than that. All right, the irony is that there is no such thing as oil from a vegetable. All right, the products being pushed as vegetable oils are in fact fruit oils: coconut, palm, olive, or avocado. All right, nut oils, macadamia, peanut, pecan, and so on. Or seed oils, canola, sunflower, soybean, grapeseed, or rice bran. All right, there's no, there's nothing there's nothing much wrong with fruit oils, and some nut oils are okay too. But seed oils are extraordinarily dangerous. And unfortunately, they make up almost all of the vegetable oils in our food. All right? Come on, man. All right? Let me zoom out real quick. All right, you got the introduction right here. I'm going to go into these books, but I just wanted to do a brief, It says introduction. It says vegetable oil makes you exceedingly vulnerable to cancer. All right. Every mouth of vegetable oil you consume takes you one step closer to a deadly and irreversible outcome. Wow. It says every mouthful of vegetable oil you feed to your children is doing the same to them. You are eating vegetable oil because it is much cheaper to make food with oils that are chemically extracted from plant seeds than it is to raise and slaughter an animal or grow a coconut tree. All right, and you are being told to eat it for your health by nutrition advocates who have been successfully and thoroughly hoodwinked by the food industry. All right, come on, man. All right. Then it has like you got like a list right here, diagram right here. Sort of. It says diseases, health problems linked to seed oils. It says cancer, macular degeneration, heart disease. All right. Macular degeneration deals with the eyes, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let's get it. All right, macular degeneration is a common eye disease that affects the macula, all right, the central part of the retina responsible for sharp central vision. All right, so it comes from freaking vegetable oil, bro. These seed oils, man. All right, so just to put a little, if it be the Lord's will, I'll go deeper. I'll get into these books for real on these vegetable oils. Because that's what I do anyway. I do many lessons on books. I stay going into books, man. As you follow my channel. If you follow my channel heavy, if you've been following my channel for a minute, I stay going in doing lessons going into books, man. Many books, many books. All right, so Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Ratazah. This lesson was edifying, man. We are to eat healthy, man. Be healthy as servants and prophets of the Lord, man. Let me read another scripture right here. I got Ecclesiasticus. All right, the book of Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus, chapter 30. All right, verse 25. It says, "A cheerful and good heart will have a care of his meat and diet." All right, so this is the wisdom and the knowledge the Lord gave us, man. These are the scriptures, man. All right. So Lord willing, you gotta be able, you gotta eat good in order to be able to think right and be able to receive this truth, man. Because these harmful foods that we eat, Esau Edom, he puts nothing but poison in the foods. All right, and that's to destroy our spirit, man. All right, and to take us away from the Heavenly Father, man. All right, because foods carry a certain type of vibration, a certain type of energy, man, and we are to eat a food that's of high vibration and high energy, man. Eating these garbage foods, it brings your spirit down, man. All right, so with that being said, call Halayim Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakah Quitash. All right. So with that being said, until the next one, Shalom, Shalom.